We're going to now switch gears a little bit. We're going to abandon the president for a second. We're going to talk about the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the most important one in American history, John Marshall. Marshall is going to be the one that's going to establish a lot of the things that you and I take for granted when it comes to the operation of the federal judiciary, and even the relationship between the federal government and the state government. For example, it's Marshall and his court that establishes the precedent of judicial review, the right of the Supreme Court to declare a law, whether it be state or federal, constitutional or not constitutional. Another defining principle is going to be the sanctity of contractual property rights. We'll see this in court cases like Fletcher versus Peck and Dartmouth College versus Woodward. But another one of the most important principles, and one that we live in today, is going to be the dominance of the federal government over the states. We see that especially with one of his most famous, if not most famous, decisions, McCulloch versus Maryland. Basically what it is that when the Second Bank of the United States is created, there's going to be branches in many of the states, one of which is Maryland. And basically the state of Maryland is going to try to tax the Bank of the United States and its Maryland branch. And the bank president, his last name was McCulloch, is going to refuse to pay it. Well, of course, that is, the state government of Maryland is going to sue them, and it's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, where John Marshall is going to be. And there he's going to issue a decision that basically says that the Maryland state legislature cannot pass a law or a tax regulating a federal institution. The Second Bank of the United States is a federal institution, and the state is trying to impose a policy on it. Well, that's just not going to happen. He's going to basically say that the federal government is the dominant level of the government, and so the state cannot tax or regulate a federal institution. This really solidifies the idea of federal supremacy. Before this, it's wishy-washy. In fact, for most part, the Constitution is more specific in what the government can't do than can, and a lot of things. So it's going to take the courts to figure out what exactly does the Constitution mean, and this is one of those areas in terms of the supremacy of the federal government over the states. So that's one of his most important decisions that we today still live in its shadow.